So, Ashley, if a church wants to begin this, how do they go about creating a planned giving ministry?
Hey, that's a great question. I really think, gosh, I know what it's like. I'm in charge of our ministry fund at our church. I'm connected. We just finished a $13.4 million capital campaign with Horizons at the church I'm serving now. You might think, gosh, I don't have time to worry about this, but it's actually quite simple. I really think there's about 4 steps that one needs to take to create a planned giving community ministry. And the first step is simply to create a really strong planned giving ministry team. So, when I'm thinking about this team in your church, every church has them. We're talking about adding and connecting with, inviting members in your congregation to be a part of this who either live generously. So perhaps they're lead donors, or perhaps they're just simply your most faithful donors, the people who are so committed to your church with their generosity. They make great members of a planned giving ministry team. Those Pied Piper members, I call them, that are over the age of 50, that just draw people in when something's important to them, it becomes important to others, right? So those Pied Piper members who are of the age that they might be considering their own planned giving gift to your church. And then gift planning experts. So people in your church who are attorneys, people in your church who are accountants, people in your church who are fundraisers, people in your church who are financial advisors, all make great lay members on your planned giving ministry team. I also, step two, is to get yourself some experts. So, I went to seminary. Many of you probably did the same. And you know what they don't teach us in seminary? How to be a planned giving expert. And so I encourage you to find your own planned giving experts. If you were United Methodist, I would tell you to go to your local United Methodist Foundation. In your denomination, I know you have some great resources, and Episcopal Parish Network can help you find some of those national resources and even local resources to set up your own planned giving ministry. Horizons can help you set up a planned giving ministry, but rely on experts. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know who you can bring into your ministry team, as well as your experts in the community that can come alongside you. The third step is really to create a clear plan for stewarding this kind of generosity through funds. So, at the Resurrection Foundation, we had 5 primary funds that we invited people to give to. And those funds, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But also, one thing that's really important before we get into funds at your for your endowment, in addition to relying on your experts to help you, they can help you set up your gift acceptance policy or update your gift acceptance policy so that you can receive planned gifts well. They can also help you set up a set apart endowment fund or an investment fund for your planned gifts. I think that's really important. And then they can provide coaching. Here in Kansas, our Methodist Foundation, the leaders from the Methodist Foundation will actually sit down with clergy and help coach them on how to invite people to be generous with planned giving. So that's all to say that you have your team in place, you have your experts in place, you have your planned giving fund, your endowment fund in place, and now you get to talk about how you want to receive those gifts. At the Resurrection Foundation, we had about 30 funds that we could receive gifts into. They had set those up before I had gotten there. I recommend churches never have more than 5. I really even say 4. Unrestricted, of course, the most beautiful opportunity to be generous can come through unrestricted giving, because then the church of the future can utilize those gifts for whatever they need. Discipleship, you could have a discipleship fund if really somebody wants to come alongside discipleship and worship in the church. Maybe a missions fund, that's always got people's hearts too. And then perhaps a facilities fund. But really, I think most churches, as they're setting up a planned giving ministry, don't need to consider anything more than those 4 funds. And if they want to have directed giving, what we would call donor restricted funds at Resurrection Foundation. This was a little A little tricky getting past, but once I got it passed, it was really important. Once we worked together to get it passed, it was really important. Our donor restricted funds could not receive, they needed to be $250,000 to be endowed. Now, that sounds like a lot, but we wanted to make sure that any donor restricted gift we received would absolutely make an impact year after year after year after year. Because with an endowed fund, we only used a 4% draw off of that fund on an annual basis. So $250,000 was a $10,000 draw. And so to set up a donor restricted fund, that's what the minimum was. Now, here in Johnson County, our typical estate settles out between $2 to $4 million. So it was a tithe of the estate typically that could fund a donor restricted fund. We also could receive non endowed funds at a minimum of $50,000, again, with the intention of a 10-year or $10,000 impact over a 5-year basis. We wanted to make sure that we weren't receiving teeny tiny funds that we couldn't make an incredible impact with year over year. Okay, so we've set up our team. We have our experts. We have our fund in place. We have our funds set up in the church, no more than four. And then the last step is determine through your gift acceptance policy work what gifts you want to receive. Now, this is a pretty important step. You don't want to miss this when you're setting up your gift acceptance policy. Um, some of the really, really wonderful assets that persons can utilize for a planned gift obviously include a bequest from a will or a trust. That's usually a gift that will need to be done with an attorney. Another option is to utilize what I really encourage people to add to their gift acceptance policy are IRAs, because being the recipient of an IRA gift through a planned gift is actually really wonderful for the donor, because IRAs can cause some tax issues for family members who receive the IRAs. So it's a great asset for persons to use when they're making a planned gift. Bank account transfer on death, that's pretty simple. Life insurance policies, making designations through life insurance policies. I already talked about attorney supported wills and trust bequest. Health savings accounts. This is kind of an easy one for people to choose to utilize for a beneficiary designation. Broker supported opportunities would include appreciated assets like stocks. Trustee supported assets might include proceeds from the sale of real estate, proceeds from the sale of a vehicle, cars, obviously I just said that, jewelry or art. Now, I really encourage you not to get into the business of doing real estate yourself. At Resurrection, we typically encourage people to invite their trustee to sell their home, and then we would be honored to receive the resources from the sale of the home. But we wanted to avoid as much as possible getting involved in the actual sale of the home. So, whew, that was a lot.
I know. Uh, two thoughts. One is just I really would love to underscore that setting up these broad funds that allow you to use the funds broadly. We spend a lot of time with churches that have 30 different funds, and one of them was set up for something so specific we couldn't find a way to use it, or there were so many we couldn't make a big impact. We just had these little areas that they could invest in. So unwinding those is possible, but complicated. So if you start on the front end and limit those, I also want to point out that if somebody wants to give a smaller gift, letting that amortize over that, Ashley's example says a 5-year period of time. So if somebody wants to give $50,000, then that's five, $10,000 impact gifts that can be given in a specific area. And of course, if that's invested, then the proceeds from that would actually grow that a little bit.